So I reached out to one of those guys, talked to him a little bit, and then I just started getting to know the other bloggers, commenting on their articles, watching the current anime at the time. All of that I feel like are very mission minded in the sense that they understand that Twitter is not. Do you feel any of that pressure sometimes to be like, well,
I've been vocal about my concerns with Christians and online discourse that happens between, each other and also other people that don't share our Christian values. And I've been seeing a lot of that, since being in this, nerd, anime, gamer, Christian space or whatever, right? Like, I think we know the game already. Negativity drives clicks and views. It's what we fiend over. We love to see our side win, but at what cost? Our internet socials only being known for going back and forth with people, dunking on people, dunking on the libs. It's a little exhausting, right? Like, with my content, my goal is to help other people, anime fans, Christian, non-Christian, see their need for Jesus through their favorite show, relating it to life in whatever capacity, because I truly do believe that Jesus intersects every part of our lives. And because the anime community oftentimes sees Christianity through a lens, well, that isn't good. I've also found other people that I'm connected with that are on the same mission with me as well. So I got to connect with Twwk from Beneath the Tangles, and we unraveled his story and his love for anime, what he does to show people Jesus. And we also got into, some spicy conversation, and we kind of unpacked our thoughts together on the current state of nerd anime, Twitter, social media, Christian anime, social media, whatever it is, right? So wherever you're at on this journey, whether you're a content creator, whether you are a Christian podcaster, Christian video gamer, whatever it is, I really hope that you just hear our heart on this topic, because I really do think the way that we interact with each other, that we interact with other people online, really does represent Jesus in a way, and we just want it to be better. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Anime Relatable. Occasionally, I get to talk to really cool people that not only share Christianity with me, they also share a love of anime or just nerd type things. Sure. And I have grown to really admire his content, and even Beneath the Tangles, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and just getting all their Christian anime recommendations from them. So they've been a great light for me. I told you guys before that I jumped into this space like maybe 2 years ago, going on 3 years at this point. And I didn't know that there were other people like me doing this. And so to know that there have been people that have been doing this, but also been doing it longer than me, makes me really excited. So guys, I'm excited to welcome to the channel, Twwk, my guy. How are you doing?
Yeah. I'm so happy to be here. And it's the first time we kind of had a face-to-face. So this is exciting for me. Yeah. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, bro. I just want to start off just letting the people know and letting my audience know who you are, and just like what are you doing in the Christian anime space right now?
Yeah, I feel like we cover a lot of the places you aren't covering, because you've got media going really great. Your videos are terrific. We don't have a huge video platform, so we're covering kind of a lot of these other social media places. And with Beneath the Tangles, it's a ministry that you alluded to. It's been around for a while. We this year is going to be our 15th year of doing it. So we started out as a blog, and we still have that side of it. So we have our website, beneatthetangles.com, and we put out articles. Today we put out one about Zenshu, which is a series that has been going on this past anime season. So we do that. And then we are on all the various social media platforms where we're trying to be a light in that space. We're trying to model Christ by how we say things, what we're saying, just living the way we live life, even like geeking out about geeky stuff, and showing that like geeking out about stuff and being creative is also, can be godly as well. And then we're also trying to build communities. So we, just like you, we have a Discord channel, and we build community there. We have small groups that run through it, and we're trying to encourage people to walk in their faith there, but just trying to be a good witness on any of these platforms and how we act and what we write.
Wow, that's awesome. What is that? So it started in the blog era.
Mhm.
Was it
The
the era
blog.
back
Yeah,
then?
that's
Like,
funny.
um, so starting in the blog era, but then kind of like
Mhm,
a slow shift to like audio, video stuff like
mhm.
that. How has that transition been? And also just trying to like capture an audience with like sort of the blog type style still, but also
Yeah.
you guys also do a YouTube channel. You guys are on Twitter as
Mhm.
well, so that you guys are tapping into different channels. But like, what has that been since like and still holding up that blog type style?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It makes me feel ancient because, so yeah, we started out in the age of blogs. Well, everyone, so no, sometimes I hit like the blog tag and I was like, these aren't blogs, right? Like it's people don't, blogs are so far gone that people don't even really know what they are anymore, right? So just writing platforms, and I think it started really with people kind of journaling online in its infancy. So at the time, WordPress was huge. WordPress was like, was not just a place to put your website, it was a platform. Everyone was commenting on each other's blogs, and it was great. That was where my community started. That's I thought my gift was writing, and so that's where I wanted to start. And then it's been an unusual shift, and God's really taking us through a journey here because I got totally burnt out. And there were, just like now, there's a lot of changes going on all around us, right? Not just socially, but also on like Twitter platform and other platforms.
Mhm.
Twitch is going through a lot of changes. So that was kind of happening at the time. Google, we had this really pretty large audience, and Google made some changes to their searches that allowed people to you can save an image from a Google search now, right? You used to not be able to
Mhm.
do that. You used to have to go to the website, and then we'd capture readers that way. They turned that off, and so our audience dwindled. My writing, I felt, was not getting any better.
Okay.
And I was just totally burnt out. I was writing like 5 articles a week, so it was 5 or 6. It was getting to be too much, and so I wanted to step away. And God was working through that time of hiatus, I guess. I went away for about a year, and I had people beneath the tangles who stood up, took over leadership, and said, "We'll carry the mantle." So while I was gone, they brought us into the social media age. Everything was
Nice.
starting to take off at that time, and they set up our platforms, and they brought people on who were interested in engaging on those platforms. And then for me, I started working for this geek magazine that existed at the time. They ended up folding, but it was a Christian geek magazine,
Okay.
and serious, like really good writers. Like I was the worst writer there. So I was like, well, these people, I'm going to learn from them. I had an incredible editor. I was getting stuff published, getting magazines with my articles in them. I was like, this is so cool. I'm writing about like, I was writing about Game of Thrones too, just like other stuff, not just anime. It was so much fun. So I was honing that craft. I started an Instagram channel just for fun on the side, and I was learning social media there. And then after about a year, I was like, I'm ready to get back into it. And then my 3 people were like, we're burnt out, and they all left the ministry. So the transition happened. And since then, we've been trying to just, kind of figure it out. I've really liked the social media aspect. It gave us a new way to connect with people personally through messaging, sometimes through comments, but mostly through messaging. And then we eventually built our Discord. And like you said, we're getting into video. I'm not a good video person. Which means I'm not interested in it, but all the editing and so forth. But we launched a Twitch stream about 6 months ago with this incredible artist who works in gaming, and she's working with that. We have a TikTok guy who does funny videos. So we're just we're finding our way in that platform, and then kind of finding what is a place for Beneath the Tangles,
Yeah.
because we've got all these awesome people like you right now that grew up with, or maybe didn't grow up with, but at least they engaged and know how to use the new media so well. And if we
Mhm.
don't, what is our place? How can we continue to feed these platforms and maybe support platforms like yours?
That's good. That's good. Yeah, you mentioned that, and I also read this like doing a little bit of research beforehand because I think every good interviewer has to do that, right?
Please.
But like doing a little bit of research, and you did take a little bit of break, and then there were some people that put up the mantle
Mhm.
to just like carry on Beneath the Tangles, and so I definitely want to like show them a little bit of love. Could you like highlight like some of your staff that are working
Gosh.
alongside you as well?
Oh gosh, yeah. So those folks are they've all gone on other things, but that was JP, Kaze, and Annalyn. Annalyn is still one of our editors, so she's kind of hung out with us. JP is actually living in Japan, so he's living the life. He works as a localizer for a video game company in Japan. So he was he was kind of our lead at that point. He went to Todai, Tokyo University. So anyone who watched anime knows that that's like the Harvard of Japan. So he's a brilliant guy. But nowadays we've kind of undergone a little bit of a shift also, where we're trying to be a little bit more organized. We have departments now. We're working on having teams that are really, instead of everything kind of flowing from me to everybody, just have these teams working together and feeling more plugged into the ministry and more effective. And so I have two leaders also. We have a Mecha Hawk, who is our kind of community lead. He's the one who runs our Discord and does it and has for many years. And then Claire is our editor, and she is incredible. Incredible writer, but I just rely on her for everything. Like if I have any question, like I need to bounce something like theological off of her, if I need to bounce like leadership stuff off of her, like I asked her a question yesterday. It's like, how can I build team in this community? She's like, well, I'm a team lead and this is what I do. Is like, those are great questions. So, and Mecha Hawk's awesome too, because I'm not really super involved in our Discord community, but he knows, like, I can ask them, oh, this was a little bit weird. What's going on with this person? Well, they're struggling with this in their life, and I can pray for them. So they're just very invested in our community and gifted and skilled. So we got a total of about maybe 30 current volunteer staff members now, and it really takes that to run all these different things that we did.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. You guys are coming together, like, yeah, kind of with two things, obviously Christianity and anime, but also just you guys are offering different things to the table to bounce off of each other, and make it like what it is today, and obviously continuing to grow and things. Like I gotta say, I do admire your guys' Discord. Like it's really, really popping. Like I think I really appreciate the community. I think I'm terrible at Discord. I feel like I got on Discord maybe about like 6, 7, maybe 8 months ago, and I'm like still trying to figure out how to like still trying to figure out how to use it, how to interact with people, because I'm just like, oh, okay, like I could talk to people, but yet like I can also make my own, like it's really weird for me. And so anytime I look at your guys Discord, I'm like, yeah, I appreciate the conversations that's happening here, and also like you guys are like tapping in not to just like share the love for what you have for just anime or manga or anything, but it's like community where it's like, hey, how can we pray for each other? Like how can you connect with other people to create content together? And so like I really, really love that. That's how like that's how I met Geek Devotions, like, and they kind of like through that Discord, and I'm like, oh wow, this is like really cool, a really cool like thing that you guys have created here. So I really love that. So shout out to you guys.
Yeah, no, I'm not great with Discord either, and which is weird because I grew up in the time of the chat rooms and forums, and Discord's kind of like the continuance of that, right? But like the people there, a lot of them have been there for a long time now, years, right? So it really, the idea of, oh, we want community, people say that all the time, right? But it has formed into one just because of the longevity and the care each other have there. So when new people come on, they may not stay. But that's okay. We want to be like the light in that moment. Even if they're only with us for a week, let's be a good model to them for a week. And then some of our community members, some of them have gone to a point where they're like, oh, I want to be a mod, or I want to pray for people, whatever. They're kind of part of that serving too. And some of them just need to be served, right? And a lot of people in our community are not churched. And so I've always said, we're not a church. We're not a church. Like that's very important to me. But we do serve some of those church functions for people. And because of that, we need to take it very seriously as we're, helping to be, form their faith, so we do have to take it seriously and be involved. And so we're actually very careful about spreading invitations. Like we really kind of had a run over the last month or two where we were sending out invitations all the time because we felt right now we're ready to accept more people. But then we don't want to grow too big either, because we don't want to be a damage to people, which sometimes happens in ministry communities. So
yeah, that makes sense. I would love to kind of dive a little bit more into, because I know like sort of we talked about a little bit behind the inspiration of Beneath the Tangles, but you guys are like, are you naturally a writer, or is that your lead foot? Like what is your lead foot? And like, I guess this kind of dovetails into what inspired Beneath the Tangles for you. What did you see that was a needed area to create this for people?
I definitely want to ask you one day about how you got in too, because I do feel like it's very much a Holy Spirit type of thing, right? Like go do this, when maybe some of this stuff is kind of on your heart sometimes. It's been developing back there, but the platform or the mode of it doesn't come together until the Holy Spirit speaks to you, or speaks through someone to you. For us, there was when I started it, I was serving at my church, and then my kids were very young, and I was staying up. I was staying up late at night because so I hadn't watched anime for a long time, and then I had babies, and I was staying up late, and I couldn't get back to sleep after they would wake up. So I started watching anime again, and I was also serving at my church. And then after a couple of years, there was this time where I was like, well, I've got this interest, and I want to serve God, and I feel like I want to do something creative, right? And I was basically a writer at the time. That was my job, and I did a lot of freelance writing. I was doing writing tutoring, and then I was working for the state of Texas as a writer. So I wanted to use all that together, and I went out and looked there. And I think this is super important, and not for everyone. Everyone has a different story, but if someone's thinking about jumping into any type of ministry online, go check out the neighborhood first. Don't just move in, right? See what people are doing, what the need is, where you can fill in, how you can serve, and that's what I did for about 6 months. I didn't start anything. I just kind of surveyed the landscape. And at the time there was a thing called Christian Anime Alliance. And it was basically reviews of anime from a Christian perspective plus a forum. And it was very big. A lot of the people my age that are still around, that's where they kind of first got together. So they actually just closed their doors like a few weeks ago. So they were around at that point. And then there were a few kind of random articles of people trying to write about anime from a Christian perspective. That was it. Those articles, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to write about anime from a Christian perspective, but I didn't know how. So I reached out to one of those guys, talked to him a little bit, and then I just started getting to know the other bloggers, commenting on their articles, watching the current anime. At the time, I wasn't into the seasonal thing, but I started getting into that and watching what was coming out. And I became part of that community. And then I started writing, and I just drafted everything, and then I launched. And I was like, let's see what happens. And I kind of figured my pattern in my life is after 3 months, I'm going to quit. And it's 15 years later, and I only quit once. So that's pretty good for me. And it really took me almost 10 years to be like, yeah, I think this wasn't me. I think this really was God working here. Because I don't like to say God told me this, because I'm just like, really? Like, are you speaking for God? Do you really know that? So it took, and maybe it's just I'm hard-headed, but it took me a long time to be like, yeah, I think God was doing something here, because this is weird and it's working somehow, because we're developing these relationships, and people are coming to us, and people are encouraged by us, and some people are coming to Christ as well. So it's been a wonderful journey.
Wow. No, I love that. I also love like sort of the like, hey, check out what's around first. Like, check out where you can be, like, sort of just like a strategy going into it. It's like, okay, like where can you be? Where can you serve? Where can you create like the, a type of content or whether that's like video, writing, whatever it may be, that can meet a felt need. Because I think that's like, there's a lot of information and video and create like I guess creators out there putting out stuff, but it's like, okay, like if you can hit on a specific like, hey, this is what I'm going for. I know the type of audience that this is going to go for. Let's try it. I think it can work really well. So that's a little, pro tip for anyone that wants to jump into content creation. I love that. I mean, and of course I can share a little bit of my story too, of how I even like got into this. I mean, a little similar. I feel like, so way back when, so this is when I was in college. I started a YouTube channel with like vlogging, I guess, like in a way, because I was running and on my track team, so I would vlog like my track practices and my track meets and stuff, and kind of got into it that way, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I became a Christian in college as well, and so I'm like, oh, let me try to like also combine my faith with running, or just even like do some Christian content, because at the time, like, I mean, Christian content is still thriving right now, but like back then it was like I was listening to people that like Alan Parr or Joseph Solomon, like all these people that were like kind of just doing like kind of devotional like Bible studies on their channels, or giving like a a word or a topic or whatever. I'm just like, okay, that like cool, I could do that. And then like I just didn't know what I was doing. Like I was in my mom's house, like kind of recording and just like fumbling everything. Like I had like a stack of books together, trying to hold up everything, and it was a mess. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like not do this for a little bit. And then what I'm turning 28, and so to 26, I was like kind of thinking about like I kind of want to be creative again. And in my job, like I was kind of feeling this sense of like I guess a little bit of a burnout of being
Sure.
tired, and it's like I need a creative outlet. I don't know
Mhm.
necessarily what that is, and so I was thinking about it. And then still like during COVID, like, you know, everyone's becoming like a content creator, Christian content
Mhm.
creator, and everyone's reacting to stuff. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't want to just react to things. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, you know, a person who's like, yo, did you see this? Like, and this is the guy,
Yeah.
and it's like, and make the crazy faces on, and it was like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I don't think I want to do that. Like, it doesn't
There's
feel
enough of
good
that.
to me. And I was just like, kind of like, okay, what do I actually like to do? And then I was, you know, like watching anime, like, you know, been an anime fan since college. I mean, maybe even before that, because Toonami, DBZ, that was all a thing back then. But I just didn't know it was anime. But it was like, okay, like I'm actually enjoying anime, and I'm seeing a lot of the Christian themes that I see in anime that kind of connect with my faith. But even if not in a direct way, sort of like relatable to life, that I could kind of pivot to say like, hey, this is how Jesus meets this need. And so I was like, okay, cool, maybe I could go that route. And so yeah, I was like, okay, but let me jump on. I deleted like, well, I didn't delete them, but like I privated all my videos from my
Yeah.
my track channel and just turned my running channel into anime relatable, and kind of just, you know, started there putting out videos and struggling for sure. But I mean, we're here now, still work to improve, but like it's kind of a desire to, and also seeing too that, okay, like I'm seeing the anime community, I'm seeing some online discourse as well, where I'm like, okay, I see how Jesus can intersect into this medium, but I also don't see too many people that are in this space as well.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
when I started making videos, that's when I started recognizing Beneath the Tangles, you guys, Christian Anime Podcast, Geek Devote,
Mhm.
all like, and so over time, I've been exposed to more people that are in this space, and even on obviously on Twitter, which we'll talk about definitely a little later, that I've been exposed to a little bit more, that people that are in sort of this space. But it just came from a desire of like, hey, I want to be able to share my faith with people online,
Mhm.
in the anime community. I think there can be a misconception about how Christianity is in the nerd space sometimes, at least from what I've seen. Not everyone's like that, but I'm like, okay, but like if I could take anime and share it from the perspective that I see it, and see, hey, what you're longing for, community, you wanting a better world, you and all these different things. I'm like, hey, that I think Jesus can bring that. And so I just kind of came out of a desire from that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, it sounds very much like mine, right? Like just like the desire to serve him, and God providing like the timing and the skill set and the motivation. And
Mm,
I think I keep, as I told my story, and as I was hearing yours, I keep thinking about Moses, right? Maybe it's just because I've been reading the Bible, and I just finished the first 5 books, right? But like, the idea of like, go, right, just go, and God's told you something, and now go, and it makes you into something too, right? Like, remember, Moses is like, I'm bumbling, I can't really say anything, right? But as I'm reading Deuteronomy, by the end of his life, he's leading so many people.
mm,
He's a judge over the people. He's their leader. He's speaking to God. He's a general too. Like, it's
yeah.
just like God equipped him, right? God equipped him, right? So like, your thing, like, the preparation, right? The running videos were preparation for what was to come, right?
Mm,
The first videos for anime relatable were not going to be as good as the ones now, right? And
mm,
whatever happening now, God's preparing you for the next thing as well, right? It's just,
yeah.
God's opening the doors, and we just need to kind of go along for the ride sometimes.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, it's crazy. I want to know sort of like, for your like, kind of diving into your background a little bit, and this is like kind of go
Sure.
into how you yeah, experiencing anime now and the anime community now. Like, was like your family growing up, were they okay with anime? Like, or did you come from a Christian background? Like, what is that for you?
Yeah, I'm trying to learn the younger audiences now, because we're just so different, and anime just if anime was a thing when I was younger, it was, kind of like with you in Dragon Ball Z, we didn't distinguish it from everything else, really.
Mm,
the earliest cartoons I watched as a kid, some of them were Western, but at least half of them were probably anime, like stuff like Transformers. I was watching Voltron, Speed Racer. I didn't know that this was, from Japan. I mean, and I'm sure I didn't care when I was 6 years old, right?
Yeah.
And then anime became a weird thing, right? It was associated with hyperviolence and pornography. It became kind of a scary thing, and I think growing up, like I tried to stay away from things that I thought, oh, that is sinful. I grew up in a Christian household, and it's not like my parents told me no anime, but you see that in a certain section of the store, or it looks so much more adult than Disney cartoons, and you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to go over here. And so I started watching Digimon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but that was in high school. Like, it wasn't made for me, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is kind of fun. And I still didn't understand it was anime. And then I kind of forgot about that. And then I watched Toonami. And so Toonami, I was like, wow, this is really cool stuff, and that really, from there, I tried some Studio Ghibli. I was like, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
then I remember specifically in college thinking, I don't really want to be an otaku, whatever that is. I don't want to be that, but I might be one. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy Evangelion. I'm going to buy the DVD, the first
Yeah.
DVD, and I think that's the test. I think if I like this too, I'm probably really into anime. And I
Yeah.
watched the first DVD, and I was like, I'm going to buy the second one. It's so good, right? And and that was kind of it. Like I had to kind of come to grips with the idea that I'm kind of a nerd, and and I thankfully now, in a lot of ways, it's super good that nerdy stuff has become more mainstream, and people are more accepting of that, and everyone likes some nerd stuff.
Yeah,
Everyone,
for
right?
sure. Yeah.
But at the time, it was kind of hard because I was like, I don't want to be identified that way. My roommates would make fun of me. It's no big deal. They're my friends, right? But like, still, is like, Star Wars is okay. Pretty much everything else is kind of, no Star Trek because that's a certain type of person, and no anime, that's a certain type of person. And
Yeah.
I'm glad it's better now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. So what did you experience like, well,
Mhm.
hmm, did you experience sort of that like like getting antagonized like for the interest like, okay, like I'm starting to actually like this now. Like was that your experience as well? Like I know like with your friends, roommates, like joking around, they're your friends, so you're kind of like whatever. But like from the outside, like was that outside of that, was that a thing for you in your experience?
Um, Thankfully, I haven't experienced too much of that. And maybe because I mostly kept it private, right? In real life, and online, I was in communities that were anime communities. So actually, the first community I was part of online was a Toonami community, and so of course we all liked anime, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Um, but and even the churches I was with were very gracious. Like, while there were panics going on about Pokemon and Harry Potter, I only knew about that from like looking at a Newsweek cover or something. It wasn't happening in my church, even though my church was really old, and maybe so they didn't even know what this stuff was. It just kind of went over their heads, right? And in my current church too, or the church I was with throughout most of college and into young adult life, eventually they let me teach a class where I took an anime called Haibane Renmei, which is it's by the creator of Serial Experiments Lane. So there's going to be depth to it and darkness and everything, and it is like super. It really looks like a version of a Christian afterlife, maybe.
Okay.
And there's a guy out there that wrote a Bible study on it and published it, and it's like a 100-page little book, but
Yeah.
it is an incredible study. So I taught that at my church. And my pastor was like, "Go for it, just go with it, right? We trust you." So that was really cool. And I taught it online too. Back when, I forget what it's called, like Google Chat or something. We did it online as well. So I haven't had that problem, but I do know, I am thankful that today what I do is, I was telling, maybe I wrote this on Twitter too, but like I'll go out. When I go out and on the weekends, I'll wear a Digimon shirt or My Hero Academia shirt or a Star Wars shirt, because I want to have conversation with people. And 4 out of 5 times, someone will have conversation with me. And it's different now. Like my daughter, last weekend I was telling her, hey, I'm wearing this My Hero Academia shirt, not because I'm a huge My Hero Academia fan, but because I know someone is going to talk to me. And she's like, it's kind of embarrassing, Dad, you know? And I was like, I know, but watch. And we went shopping and no one talked to me. No one talked to me until the very last place we went to, where the cashier was like, dude, I love that show. Dobby, do you know Dobby, his arc? And we talked about Dobby's arc a little bit and how intense it is and like how meaningful it is. And then I gave him a business card I had from Beneath the Tangles, right? And I was like, see, like, no, I didn't say that. My daughter said, yeah, I can't believe like what actually happened, right? I was like, that's the only reason I'm wearing this stuff. I feel too old for it, right? But I want to have that conversation, and that wasn't probably going to happen 20 years ago.
I love that. So I kind of turning that turning the opportunity and knowing just like reading the room or the atmosphere that we're in, like, or culture that we're in right now, where it's like, hey, whatever you're like, no matter what nerd like thing that you're wearing, or even just like fandom thing that you're wearing, like it's going to spark some type of conversation. And I love that kind of you like flipping it. And he's like, hey, like let's turn this into like an opportunity that maybe like this person might know Jesus. Like let's get them to connect us to Beneath the Tangles and see like what like God just does with that seed. And I think that's like a very like aware of just like what like of the potential that this medium like has in people's lives and how it can be used for God's glory, which I think I love. Like I appreciate that. And I also like kind of appreciate too the like sort of like, I know this is gonna embarrass my daughter a little bit, but I'm gonna wear it anyway. I love that. I aspire to that when I have kids. When I have kids one day.
Because it's just it's this idea of modeling for my kids too, right? Because they're not really on social media. They watch a little bit of anime, but not too much. So I can tell them things, but they don't see what I do, right? So that was as much for her as whoever I was going to talk to, right? To be able to show, faith in action. And I really think it's, as you mature in your faith, right? Like, and as all the things that are separate in your life come under the lordship of God, right? And all kind of come together under him, right? Then it's going to be natural. Like the choice to wear this shirt is not something that I would think about when I was younger in my faith, right? Because everything, despite me telling God, like singing to him that everything is for you, whatever, like it really wasn't, right? And it's not like it is now. I'm still struggling every day to grow in faith, right? But as you grow, right, and everything comes under him, then you're thinking every opportunity is or everything you do is an opportunity to honor God, worship him, right? So how can I do it when I go grocery shopping? How can I do it in the workplace? How can I do it when I go, play video games or something like that? It becomes more and more naturally part of your life.
Yeah, no, that's good. I love that. With it becoming more just natural and just like it's just what a part of your life now. What has it been like for you and doing online ministry, also just being a fan? Like what has it been like for you being a Christian, like navigating the anime space? I guess maybe even back then, but even like presently now, like what is that like for you now? What tensions are you feeling like that, like in the kind of we offline we talked about it a little bit. What tensions, what concerns, what has it been like for you navigating your faith in the space?
Lots of them. I mean, I think it's we're just in a weird place in culture right now, and it feeds everything, including anime. It's really seeped into anime viewing experience, right? You go on Twitter and it is a mess out there. The Christians are the people that I'm most concerned about, right? And that's a problem, right? Like, we just, there's, and I don't know what it is. And it's probably like a million different factors, but, I wonder, is the church is always behind, right? The church is always reacting to culture instead of like being with culture or ahead of culture. And are we not reacting fast enough to support brothers and sisters in Christ or youth as they kind of learn to be able to interact online or interact with media? And so they're going online and interacting with people in a way that isn't Christ-like. Is that the problem? Or is it that we're just we're so impacted by culture that we're idolizing all the things we shouldn't be? and that impacts how we speak to people online or interact with people online. And so I feel over the last year with Twitter, with my personal account at least, separate from what Beneath the Tangles does, I'm trying to hopefully model what I think a Christian should be in the Twitter space, and trying to be like more gracious than maybe some people are being, to try to point people towards faith and away from maybe how they see faith through the lens of their culture, or lens of politics, and then trying to also act in a way that maybe helps people understand that, hey, the here and now, this moment is important. So be Christ in this moment, but also don't feel like you have to fight someone to the death over something, because, hey, it's not on you. Remember, God is God, right? And you don't have to be like absolutely right and absolutely convincing someone in this moment. You just have to be modeling Christ continually, like online, right? And you may not win that conversation. That's okay. Maybe what's more important is that you continue to develop that friendship, so that 5 years from now, that guy comes back and is like, hey, there was something different about you. I want to hear more about Jesus. Or they go on with their life and you've impacted them in a way so that maybe they'll step foot inside a church when they wouldn't have otherwise. But these 7 people that interacted with him in the past in a very godly way had convinced them that not all Christians are bigots, for instance. So I'm trying to be a little bit different model that maybe I can be now that I'm in my 40s, that I want to have been in my 20s.
Yeah, no, that's good. I really do. Since I've been on there, I really do appreciate the way that you interact with people and the way that you even just tweet. I feel like with some accounts like that I see, I'm just like, it's always fighting. It's always like fighting in something. It's always like, did you see what this person? I'm just like, so it's refreshing when I just like when you're tweeting and it's like you talk about, hey, this is what I saw in Zenshu lately, and I'm like, wow, like I love that. Like I want to be like that, because and for me, I'm like, okay, I want to like always definitely model like Christ-like behavior like on the internet, because it's like the internet like comes around fast, and it's like the one wrong thing that you say, like people bring it up. It's like, yo, is this you? And I definitely want to be that way. But I'm also like kind of when it like, and I was saying this like that this is like my New Year's resolution for like content creation. It was like not to die on every hill. But Twitter makes it so hard sometimes, and just like, bro, like, do you guys not see what like how we're acting right now, and how this, and I don't know, if it's just like young, like 20-year-old, like I'm 20, like I'm nearing 30, but it's like young 20-year-old people that are just like really, really zealous about Jesus. I'm like, that's great, but it's like, it needs to be like, I don't know, it doesn't need to be contained, but it's like, hey, I think there's a different way. I think it comes with maturity to how to approach people and how to engage with people. I'm thinking about like this one particular that just recently happened, like the $1 trillion things, or you meet.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and like. And then some people made great fan art like with it. I was like, yo, this is actually pretty cool. Like, I didn't know you guys were gonna actually create this. And then like someone was like, hey, like I want to, I would love to meet Jesus, or if it wasn't for like his people. And I'm like, this is really interesting. I'm just like, what, like maybe there could be some like malicious intent for this person, but also I'm not God and I'm not the Holy Spirit, so like I can't just like say like, yeah, I'm reading between the lines. This person doesn't actually mean what they mean. But some people were just like, hey, no, like you have to accept Jesus and it's like, great, but like don't just pass over like his hurt that he's like saying to you guys. It's like, hey, like I would love to be with Jesus, but his people tell me that I'm like, I need to die, and like I'm like what are we doing? And the way I saw some responses from that was like kind of really disheartening.
I think it's sometimes is that the idea, and there's a lot of reasons, but I think sometimes it's wisdom, right? And you understand that wisdom comes with age and experience, and you can't make up for that stuff. And so sometimes out of a good heart, we try to answer without having the wisdom there, right? So how they say that men are problem solvers, right?
Mhm.
But that causes a problem sometimes in marriages and relationships, because the women don't necessarily want you to solve the problem. They just
Mhm.
want you to hear them out, right? I
Mhm.
know that's a problem in my relationship, right? It's like, okay, stop solving problems, Charles. Let's go to, like, let's just be a good husband, right? I think that's happening online a lot, right? Like, hey, I know what you want to do right now is be the one. Think you're the one person that can correct this and say, hey, but you got to separate the people from Jesus, because we're all sinners. Look at the person of Jesus and you will see the truth in him. And we think sometimes, I've got the words of life right here, and I'm going to solve this problem with my one message.
Mhm.
But we lack the wisdom to understand, that that's actually kind of prideful, right? Like, I'm going to solve all this guy's problems with just my, 144 characters or whatever.
Yeah.
And then secondly, we're thinking, we forget that, hey, you're just an instrument of God, and this is a life. This is a person's life, and you think about, like, how complex he is and how many years this person is going to live, and you think in this one moment that you're going to be the savior. How about you just be God's instrument to this person, which might just mean liking their post. It
Mhm.
might just mean, like, saying, I'm sorry, man. Like, I'll
Yeah.
pray for you, and just being a light in that one moment instead of being the solution, because Jesus is a solution, but that doesn't mean he's going to make this happen right now.
Yes.
He's just going to use you in that person's life if you're willing to be used and you're following him, which sometimes means, hey, I got to just take a break and be patient and loving, and not have all the answers,
Yeah.
even if
No,
I do.
that's good. That's good. And I love that. I think, yeah, I think for some reason there's this, and obviously there's a million things tied to, I think, why this behavior is online, but I think it's this idea that because we are Christian, we can act this way if it's coming from, in our mind, a good
Yeah.
place. Like,
Yeah.
other people aren't going to receive it that way. Like, if we're supposed to love our neighbor, right, and treat them like how we want to be treated as well, then I don't think yelling at me or just saying some off the wall thing, but because it's cloaked in Christian like jargon, that's going to make my life better or make me see Jesus even more. I always see this idea of people saying Jesus called people out and flipped tables. This is particularly talking about a specific prophecy. And I'm not saying that there isn't time for
Mhm.
that, right? I think there are certain moments where it's okay. Hey, like, there needs to be like a come to, hey, flip me over this table. This is not okay. But every day though, like,
Right.
every single day, and I get it. I often think about Paul in Acts 17, right, when he is going through, he's looking at all the idols at the temple at Areopagus,
Uh-huh.
right, and walking through the idols. He's patiently like walking and looking and like observing, and then he gets an opportunity to speak in front of the people, in front of the pagans, and like, he could have, maybe he was justified, right, to like kind of like knock over all the idols, right,
Mhm.
to flip over the
Mhm.
tables and be like, and
Mhm.
call people all types of names, and yet he doesn't do that.
Mhm.
And I'm like, and I think if anyone has the authority to probably like, call people out and maybe like rip out their beards and do all it would
Yeah.
be the Apostle Paul.
Yeah.
But yet he doesn't display that behavior. He's like, in the midst of a pagan society, goes in front of these people and is like, hey, I see that you guys are religious people.
Mhm.
And he proclaims the gospel. And it's always fascinating to me because at the end of that, he said, okay, some people, you'd be like, yo, this person's crazy. Why is he talking like that? Some people are interested in hearing what you say again. And then some
Yeah.
people left with him and actually believed in Jesus. I'm like,
Mhm.
he didn't have to flip over a table. He just literally
No.
was like observed and was like, hey, I see that you guys are religious. One day, God's going to judge the living and the dead, and he appointed a man to do that, and his name is Jesus. And it's like, we can do that. And I
Mhm.
don't know what's stopping us. And it's very interesting. And I share that, like, that kind of that heart of just like
Yeah.
seeing the discourse and things online. It can be very frustrating. But I do want, and if you want to say more to that, I do want to know, what do you like seeing on Twitter, like from the community? Like, what kind of like gets you to like be like, I love this. I want to see more of this.
On Twitter. Yeah, no, it's yeah. Well, I see. Sometimes I see. Well, I see growth. I mean, like, I've been on Twitter long enough now that people that were friends in the past, some people are hurting. I mean, people go through times of hurt, but it's nice to see people growing and getting to a good place. But also, I like when people. I like there are some people I follow that I feel like are very mission minded in the sense that they understand that Twitter is not just a creative place and it's not a place just to let your opinions be known, but just like everywhere else, it's a mission field. So as they go into it, I think they're very the way they interact with people. Um, it's really hard to love people with that digital barrier,
Mm-hmm.
but these people understand that this is a person, not a screen name, just like if they were in front of them in real life. And you can tell how they interact with people because they see them as a person. And secondly, when I see people that kind of understand what their role is in the ministry there, like, we're talking about, I was looking up right now because I couldn't remember his name, but there is a space for people to debate, right? I just think that 99% of the people in the anime sphere who are debating aren't really made for that. I don't think that's their ministry. I think they're doing it for a different reason. But I was thinking about Gavin Ortland, who's a pastor and it really has a big YouTube presence. And he answers people graciously and is very knowledgeable and gives responses through YouTube, that are theological, right? So that guy is made for this, right? What are you made for? Are you made to respond with funny videos that have like theological content? Are you made to just develop relationships with people? Are you the encourager? Are you the prayer warrior? What is your role? What is your skill? What are your gifts? What audience do you feel like a passion towards? What are your interests? And you can find it on Twitter. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on TikTok. And I think it's gonna, if you can kind of find your lane a little bit, I think that sometimes helps people focus, because we all have those feelings. We all get really angry at people. I mean, the thing I like about Twitter is that I can step away from it, and be like, okay, I'm not going to tweet this right now. Sometimes I'll say that I have 50 drafts that I've thrown away, just because I need to step away. Things are, I get too tied up or wrangled up about stuff, but that's what we have to do sometimes. So take your time, think about it. I like seeing people who know what they're doing, because I know they're also just like me. They're getting upset, but they've learned that they can't be that way in front of people, right? And Twitter it's actually a really good platform for that, because in real life, if you get mad, you can't take it back. But on Twitter, if you get mad, you can delete your draft, and that's what I do all the time.
I say that I'm like, there've been a few times, or a lot of times actually, where I'm just like, something comes into my head, I'm thinking about something, I'm just like, this actually is really annoying. Let me start drafting a tweet, and I'm thinking about this, and maybe it's the Holy Spirit being like, do you really need to say that? I'm like, you know what? I'll take it back. I don't really need to say it. And maybe it's more of a thoughtful response later that might come into the form of a Gavin Ortland type response, where it's like, hey, let me just talk about this in the video, and that will come off more gracious than me saying it in 140 characters that might be taken any type of way, which I also appreciate that.
Can I ask you something? How did you so this is something I struggle with sometimes, which is that I'll write a tweet that I'm like, this is going to get a lot of likes, but I don't feel real great about it. And sometimes I'll tweet it anyway. And I'm like, I probably shouldn't have done that. Right. You came in and you had a hit tweet immedially. It blew up. I was like, I've been doing this for years. I don't get these, right? I get these once every 2 years. Right. How do you feel any of that pressure sometimes to be like, I need to create the line between creating content on Twitter and being a light on Twitter? Do you ever feel that tension?
Yeah, no, I definitely do, especially because I've realized just how fast you can grow on Twitter when it comes especially if you get a viral tweet and stuff. And so I definitely feel that tension, because I'm just I want to grow. I think the end goal for that's Twitter isn't the end goal. It's mainly okay, definitely glorify God, make him known. But also I have a YouTube channel as well that I consistently creating on. And so if plugging the YouTube channel from Twitter and the same vice versa, if that helps, this kind of thing for me. But it's the tension's hard, because I'm I think likes and like views, like, and I didn't know like Twitter had like a view like thing, like how many people like view your tweet and stuff. I'm just like, oh, that's like a little intoxicating. So it's like all these different metrics are like kind of like glaring at you to make you want to perform or make or do like a hit tweet or something like that. And so, and knowing the platform now of just like not just Twitter but all social media is like controversy, rage, reaction, like very rarely does positive content like ever like do really well. That's not true actually. There are people that put up positive content all the time, they do really well. But it's like for, especially if you want to get into the game, if you like you want to be in content creation, if you want to have your name, you know, be known, your content be known, like controversy is like probably is a great way to do that. And I think for me, knowing that if anything that I like react to that everyone's upset about and like they're getting a bunch of like reactions to it, I'm like, okay, I know if I say something to this, I'm going to get a lot of like, you know, reaction to it. I'm like thinking about, okay, is this going to like compromise what I'm actually here to do? And I want to grow, like, and I think everyone wants to grow, like everyone wants to like, there's this like this human desire for everyone to be noticed and everyone to, you know, be valued in some type of way. And so if you can come into a space and react to something, put your thoughts on something, and it blows up, it's like, wow, like something in these like, yo, I'm being known by people, like people want me to like, you know, share my insights or opinions, or people agree with me, and that's intoxicating. So for me, like I try to fight back against that, because it's like, okay, I'm feeling a certain way now and I'm like ready to tweet, but if I step back a few hours and I don't feel that way anymore, do I still want to tweet that? And so I'm kind of always thinking about that like subconsciously. And then sometimes like when I'm feeling something, I'm like, okay, I know it's going to be a hit tweet. I'll tweet it. I'm like, I'm going to delete it. 'Cause I'm like, I just don't want that. Like, I'm okay like with having like traction if it's like gospel based. Like I'm like, if someone like is actually like I don't know, if I'm sharing some aspect of the gospel, or I'm like saying like, oh, like, hey, like this is like how I think you could, you know, responding in kind to somebody, like responding like a, you know, if someone's like going off or like they're angry, or if there's some reactionary content that is supposed to get you riled up, responding in a way that like is just nice. Like I try to do that. So I try to balance that out a little bit. There are moments where I'm like, yeah, let me just try to like, let me say something that I know this might do well. I'm actually not too sure if it might do well. It might just go into the void, which is, I'm okay with that. But I definitely try to think about, okay, like how are people going to view me after this? And that's kind of probably the main thing that I would say is, are people going to view me as this person that dunks on people all the time? Or are people going to view me as someone that extends grace to people that may be on a different side? You know what I mean? And that's for everyone. And which is why I come up against the Christian space in general. Because it's just, I think we can do better. And social media is the you know, the town square of ideas and talking. But it's like, how radically different would it be that if we just responded in a way that's gracious, seasoned with salt, in a way that, even though this person like is against my values, they may have cursed me out, they may hate me as a Christian, but like how different would it be if like I just like, hey, I love you, man. Like I you know, I don't know you, but like I appreciate you being made in the image of God, and like I'm sorry that you feel that way, and you don't leave anything like controversial or just like negative after that. Like how different would the space be, and how different would that other person on the other side of the screen be? So that's kind of like how my mind works a little bit when I'm feeling that emotion.
I think about like, I have breadcrumbs all over the internet, right? You know, this, 2 years after I've left some comment that I've forgotten about, it's still there. And, you know, was I Christ-like in that moment, you know? And I think I do think if Christians thought of Twitter as a ministry space more and more, understanding that, hey, they want validation. And the thing is, there is a form of validation just being on Twitter, because people are going to see what you're writing, right? So if people are going to see what you're writing, you know, remember that you're representing Christ in this sphere, right? But you know, it's hard to, as you grow in your faith, you're going to be more in that mode all the time, right? right? But if you're not growing in your faith right now, if you're going through a desert place, for instance, which you might be growing in your faith because of that, but if that's happening, or you're in a really hard place, or you're just not doing the things you need to do to get closer to God, right? I think it's going to be really hard for you to be that light out there. And then there are some people I'm like, you can tell it's not really authentic too. Like, some people will talk spiritual things, and then the next moment they'll say something that's like, yeah. Or they'll respond to someone like, that, I mean, love your enemies, right? Like, Jesus died for us, right? Remember that? Like, what's the problem here, right? So, so I don't know. It's a tough place to be, but it's the world, right? It's where we are. So, I hope I can make an impact in it, and I think you are too. So I'm glad. I was telling you before we got on here, I'm so glad you're there. Please stay. You're needed there. And hopefully more and more people will come who are trying to shine the light in every interaction we have.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely. I definitely think it's coming. I think, yeah, I think they're coming, and I mean there has to be people, like, not saying that. I mean, I guess I am, or we are, but there has to be people that are setting an example for that. That's like, hey, like, social media doesn't have to be, toxic. Like, it doesn't have to be like, the Christian person that is a Christian content creator doesn't always have to be dunking on people, or like, owning people, because like, sometimes I think we would be okay if we just, like, refrain from some things. But so my last question for you, and this is we were kind of sharing this a little bit just now, but like, what would be some advice that you would give for a young, or just any Christian that wants to get into the Christian content, like content space, Christian anime space, or just nerd space in general? Like, what would be your advice on how, like, they should go about it, how they should operate? What would you say? How would you speak to that?
Yeah, I think I think the biggest thing for me that I would share with almost anyone is to build a lot of relationships with people that are that can support your ministry or support you. So someone wanted to do Christian anime stuff on YouTube, they should reach out to you, reach out to other people that are doing videos, introduce themselves, follow you, get to know you, just so they can learn from you, but also because there'll be a little bit of, and not from everyone, some people just ignore you, right? But like, I get ignored by a lot of Christian content creators, but like, the ones that do like tag on to you, that there's a little bit of oversight, a little bit of accountability there. And maybe it'll help humble you a little bit to know that these people have gone before you. You can learn from them. And also, but also in real life, like one thing that I've encountered recently that I really didn't know existed, kind of opened the world to me, was I'm transitioning to a new church now. But the church I was at previously, before they underwent some changes, I was told consistently that they loved what I was doing with Beneath the Tangles and they wanted to support me. How can we support you? And the idea, like, oh yeah, that's what it's supposed to be like. The church isn't this local church, which, it is, but it's the church, right? We can't be jealous of each other's ministries. We can't want everything for ourselves. We have to be like, well, if God designed you for this and you're a brother in Christ and you're coming here, how can we like help you, right? And the new church that we're starting to attend is the exact same way. They've asked the same thing, like, oh, so like if you're, there's kind of those two levels of having the people that are in your sphere that have gone before you that can support you. And even when I did it and there was only one guy out there that had written anything similar to what I was writing, I sought him out and I got a lot of advice from him, and I still appreciate him, right? I have another friend that was a friend of his, and we talk about how much we love him all the time, even now. And then There's also the people around you physically, right? They can support you, pray for you, maybe support you in other ways, maybe even donate to your ministry if you go to a church that you're really plugged into. Who knows, right? But to have those kind of two levels there, I think that's really, really helpful, and especially if you're young, because I think you're gonna have the passion I don't. I can't get all hyped for a video and get 100,000 likes because I'm gonna do this. I can't do that stuff, and I don't care to do that stuff. It's past me. I'm done. My energy is gone. So you're bringing the energy, and you're probably. And I'm not gonna sit down and say your theology is wrong. You might have incredible theology, and you've got you might. I've watched a lot of anime, but you may have watched more than I have, right? You might have all that stuff going for you, but again, just like we talked about earlier, you unless you're Solomon, someone that was specifically gifted by God with wisdom, you just don't have it yet because you haven't had the years that you can't just make up for. You can't go into a hyperbolic time chamber, right? And get all that stuff, So lean on the people that have wisdom and learn from them, because you're going to get in trouble. It's going to happen. And either you're going to say stuff online that's going to hurt your witness, or you're going to do something in the dark that's going to really ruin you. You're going to get in some sort of bad relationship. You're going to get involved in pornography or something that's really going to steer you astray. Right. But the more godly people you have around you, hopefully the more people that can keep you accountable. And then it really is up to your heart to be able to open up to them and tell them that you're struggling with something. But you can't tell them if you haven't developed that community. Yeah,
that's good. That's good. I love that. It's kind of the importance of the local church community, the importance of just having a space that you can go to in your real life, have people and have be accountable to people, and so I love that.
And I do want to say, I know a lot of people are in small towns or otherwise just can't find a church community that really fits them. There are some really, really great digital churches out there, that are just don't just have a digital portion, but are fully digital. And and there are some that are specific, Saddleback has a virtual ministry, right? Saddleback Church out in California. But then there are ones that are specifically for nerds and geeks that are incredible, like Lux Digital Church, XP Church. I think they've just changed their name too. They used to be I think they're XP Church now, and they've got. I'm always interacting with them. Incredible ministry there, and there are others as well. So get plugged in. You'll find a place. There are places for everyone now.
Yeah. We are made for community, and online, in person. It's important as a content creator. If you're planning on getting into it, finding it, because will go crazy if you don't have it.
In fact, I mean, I got really isolated early in the ministry at Beneath the Tangles. Even though I had staff and everything, it was I was putting everything on my shoulders, and I wasn't really sharing with anyone in my church because I didn't really have close friendships at that church, right? And so I was making mistakes, and my content wasn't as good. I even saw my theology it wasn't as tight as it was. And I was like, oh, something's happening here. And I knew the answer, but the stubbornness in me was I can fix this until I was totally burnt out. So that fed into my burnout and leaving as well. And then God was just gracious to refresh me and lead us to other community as well. So, but you don't have to necessarily go through that kind of phase. You can get the love now that you need, and then the support and the prayer.
Yeah, that's good. Man, Twwk, thank you so much for coming on and just sharing your heart and just sharing your story. I think a lot of people are going to be blessed by it, encouraged by it, and even share the same heart that you have just with the whole culture that we're in right now. Where can people find you? Find your content? It'll be linked in the link below. But where can people find you?
Yeah, we're either Beneath the Tangles, beneath-the-tangles.com, or Anime Tangles if our username was too long. So so search Beneath the Tangles everywhere. We're really focusing right now on we have this newsletter on Substack called Above Anime. And it's so we put out a little devotional every week, but then we also link to all the stuff we're doing during the week. So if you can't keep up with us, you can just get that once a week in your inbox. And then also our Twitch stream, Beneath the Tangles. Whitney works really hard on it. She's She's an amazing artist. She works for a gaming company and she's doing a free run art piece right now. That's incredible. So she's terrific. If you want to follow me, I'm the Tangles on Twitter. That's mostly where I hang out. But I'm also kind of on all the platforms, so you can reach me anywhere you want. And I love to chat with people and I'll pray for you or talk to you. And you can also plug into our Discord. So any of those places, we're happy to have you, whatever works for you all.
Cool, guys. Definitely make sure you check out his content. Follow the Twitch. Follow if you can. If you're allowed to get into the Discord, get into the Discord. And yeah, and check them out. They're doing really great stuff there, and they definitely have my support. And so if I've been following the channel for an amount of time, definitely go check them out. I approve. Not that you need my approval, but
no, we appreciate that. I love what you do, so that encourages me. Thank you, man.
Cool.
I hope you really enjoyed the conversation between Twwk and I. You really did hear our heart and just how we just want the anime community, the Christian witness on social media to be a lot better. So leave your thoughts below and tell us what you think of this conversation. What do you have to add and contribute? And how do you think the Christian interactions on social media could be better? Let us know in the comments below, and I will catch you